Right in the middle of my lush green vegetable bed, there sits a plastic pipe that looks completely out of place. My neighbors have no idea what I'm doing, but the truth is, this $2 pipe is quietly generating incredibly valuable nutrients right beneath the soil. It works continuously, right next to the root zone where the plants need it most. It's time to stop relying on chemical fertilizers and start activating a biological system right under your feet. In this video, I'll show you how to turn waste into black gold with just a simple plastic pipe. Think about your current composting routine. If you're like I used to be, you've got a massive black bin in the far corner of your yard. You have to haul your kitchen scraps out there every night. Then, every couple of weeks, you're out there with a pitchfork, breaking your back to turn a heavy, stinking pile of half-rotted waste. You sacrifice your space, your nose, and your Saturday mornings. And after 6 months of waiting, you still have to shovel that compost into a wheelbarrow and carry it all the way back to the garden. Doesn't that feel like the entire system is broken by design? Why are we moving material away from our plants just to rot it, and then moving it back? It's a waste of energy. Your energy. The modern fertilizer industry loves this because it makes gardening feel like work. They want you to believe that fertility is something you buy in a heavy plastic bag from a big box store. They want you focused on the NPK numbers on the back of a carton, treating your soil like a chemistry set rather than a living organism. But what if someone figured out a way to let the earth do every single step of that process? The hauling, the turning, the distribution, invisibly, underground, on its own timeline? That is exactly what this $2 pipe does. It's a bridge between your kitchen scraps and the biology of the soil. Once you understand the science behind why this works, you will never look at a bag of premium fertilizer the same way again. We aren't just gardening anymore. We are managing a self-renewing empire. Darwin's legacy and the earthworm engine. This isn't a new invention. In fact, it's one of the oldest agricultural secrets on the planet, and it was buried quite deliberately sometime in the middle of the 20th century. To understand the pipe, we have to talk about Charles Darwin. Now, most people remember Darwin for The Origin of Species and the theory of evolution. But Darwin himself considered his most important work to be his final book, a dense, 40-year study of earthworm behavior. Darwin proved that earthworms are the primary architects of all fertile soil on this planet. Long before the Aztecs or the Egyptians, worms were tilling the earth. The Aztecs actually understood this. They built their entire agricultural system around the invisible engine beneath their feet. They didn't disturb the worms. They didn't move them. They fed them in place. So, what happened? Why aren't we all doing this? After World War II, the chemical plants that had been making explosives needed a new market. They pivoted to nitrogen fertilizer. Almost overnight, the conversation shifted from soil biology, working with living things, to soil chemistry, replacing living things with synthetic chemicals. The industry needed you to believe that fertility comes from a bag, because you can't patent or sell an earthworm. The worm got forgotten because the science of biology was inconvenient for the business of chemistry. Here is where the biology gets fascinating. Earthworms don't have eyes or ears, but they have something much better. An incredibly sensitive chemical detection system built into every centimeter of their skin. They taste the world through moisture. And one of the strongest signals they are drawn to is the scent of decomposing organic matter. When you drop a banana peel into that PVC pipe, the microbes start breaking it down. They release specific gases, volatile compounds, into the soil through the holes I've drilled in that pipe. Those compounds drift through the soil moisture like a slow, invisible radio signal. Every worm within 10 feet receives that signal and starts moving toward the pipe. It's not random. They navigate with the accuracy of a shark following a scent trail in the ocean. The pipe becomes a permanent feeding station that pulls in an entire army of soil workers to your garden bed. The formula for black gold. Let's talk about the product. Black gold, or what scientists call worm castings. If you go to a high-end garden center, you'll see small 5-liter bags of worm castings selling for $20 or even $30. It's marketed as a luxury item. But why? Most people think fertilizer is just about NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Synthetic fertilizers give your plants a massive spike of these nutrients. It's like giving a kid a giant bag of sugar. They get a burst of energy, they grow fast and weak, and then the nutrients wash away with the next rain. This creates a dependency cycle. You have to keep buying the bag to keep the plant alive. Worm castings work on a totally different biological frequency. The nutrients in castings are bound in a slow-release matrix. They don't wash away. They only become available when the plant roots signal that they are hungry. But it's what's beyond NPK that matters. Castings are packed with beneficial microbes, bacteria, and fungi that form a symbiotic relationship with your plants. Think of it like this. Synthetic fertilizer is a multivitamin. Worm castings are a full, home-cooked organic meal, plus a dose of probiotics. Castings contain natural growth hormones like auxins and cytokinins that tell your plants to grow massive root systems. They contain humic acids that fix your soil structure. If your soil is too sandy, castings help it hold water. If it's too heavy with clay, they help it breathe. There was a study in 2011 in the journal Applied Soil Ecology that proved even a tiny amount of worm castings outperformed synthetic fertilizers in every category: germination, growth, and disease resistance. And the best part? Your $2 pipe is producing this luxury material right now, for free, deposited directly into the soil where your roots are hungriest. You aren't just building a compost bin, you are building a worm highway with a permanent rest stop in the center. The worms come into the pipe, they eat your scraps, and then, this is the critical part, they leave. They travel back out into the root zone, digesting as they go, aerating the soil with their tunnels, and leaving a trail of the world's best fertilizer exactly where your tomatoes need it. You've bypassed the shovel and the wheelbarrow entirely. Building the worm. Rest stop. Now, I want to show you how to build this. It's almost insultingly simple, which is probably why people don't take it seriously at first. You don't need a degree in engineering. You just need a pipe and a drill. Ideally, you want a PVC pipe between 4 and 6 inches in diameter. If you can't find a pipe, a plastic bucket with a lid works too. The size matters because you need enough interior volume to hold a few days' worth of scraps, but you don't want it so big that the material just sits there and goes cold. We want a dense microbial colony inside. For the length, aim for about 24 inches. You're going to bury about 2/3 of it. This means the bottom of your worm station will sit about 16 inches underground. Why that deep? Because that's where the soil moisture is most consistent, and where the worms feel safest from the heat of the sun. Before you put it in the ground, we have to build the doors. Take a drill with a 1/2-inch bit and go to town on the bottom 2/3 of the pipe. Space the holes about 2 or 3 inches apart. You aren't building a sieve. You're building an entrance and exit system. The more holes you have, the more traffic you get. And more traffic means a wider distribution of fertilizer across your garden bed. As for the bottom of the pipe, I leave mine completely open. This allows the juice, the nutrient-rich liquid from the decomposing scraps, to drain directly into the deep soil. It also allows the deep-dwelling worms to come up from underneath. If you're worried about the pipe sinking, you can put a bit of mesh at the bottom, but generally, the friction of the soil holds it in place just fine. Position the pipe in the center of your bed. You want the radius of influence to cover as much ground as possible. If you have a very long bed, you might put 2 pipes, one at each end. Once it's buried and the lid is on, the infrastructure is done. You've just built a high-tech biological factory for the price of a cup of coffee. Feeding your underground workers. Now that your station is open for business, you have to be a good manager. What you put in that pipe determines how happy your worms are and how fast they work. The rule is simple. Keep it plant-based and raw. Fruit scraps, vegetable peelings, apple cores, and wilted lettuce are like 5-star dining for earthworms. They love coffee grounds, it's like a stimulant for them, and crushed eggshells, which provide the grit they need for digestion. I also like to throw in some torn-up cardboard or old newspaper. This adds carbon and helps balance the moisture so the pipe doesn't become a soggy mess. Now, here is the what not to do list. Never put meat, fish, or dairy in the pipe. These materials rot using a different kind of bacteria that produces ammonia. Ammonia doesn't attract worms, it repels them. It also smells terrible and will attract scavengers like rats or raccoons. Also, be careful with citrus. A little orange peel is fine, but if you dump a whole bag of lemons in there, the acidity will spike and the worms will move away. Avoid oils, sauces, or anything with heavy salt. We want the clean scent of a forest floor, not the smell of a trash can. If you ever open the lid and it smells sour or aggressively bad, it means you've overloaded the system. The microbes can't keep up. When that happens, just stop adding food for a few days and toss in a handful of dry leaves or shredded paper to soak up the excess moisture and rebalance the chemistry. You'll know it's working when you see the soil around the pipe start to change. It will get darker. It will feel more like chocolate cake and less like dirt. And your plants, they will tell you. The ones closest to the pipe will start to look hypercharged. They'll have thicker stems, darker leaves, and they'll handle the summer heat much better because they have an army of worms constantly aerating their roots. Becoming the ecosystem manager. This is the point where we move beyond just gardening tips and into a different mindset. Most people garden as a series of battles. They battle the weeds, they battle the pests, they battle the bad soil. But when you use this pipe, you are no longer a soldier. You are a manager. You are creating a space where nature does the work for you. You are taking your kitchen waste, something most people pay the city to haul away, and turning it into the most potent fertilizer on the planet. You are using a biological system that has been perfected over 500 million years. There's something slightly subversive about this. Every time you drop a banana peel into that pipe, instead of buying a bag of synthetic NPK, you are opting out of a multi-billion-dollar industry that profits from your dependency. You are proving that abundance doesn't have to be expensive. It just has to be smart. I want to encourage you to try this. Don't believe me? Spend the $2. Get a scrap piece of pipe. Bury it in your worst-performing garden bed. Feed it for 1 season. The results will speak for themselves. You'll see that the expert advice you've been following, the digging, the turning, the spraying, was often just a distraction from the simple, elegant power of soil biology. If you made it this far, thank you for being the kind of person who cares about the why and not just the how. Every person who builds one of these pipes is one fewer person relying on the chemical cycle. If that feels like a community you want to be a part of, hit that subscribe button. I don't care about the numbers, I care about the movement. On this channel, we look for the tools that are free, the secrets that were buried, and the techniques that actually work. Think of that white pipe not just as a tool, but as a silent protest against a broken system. Every time you lift that lid, you are making a choice to stop being a consumer and start being a creator. You are choosing to trust the ancient wisdom of the soil over the glossy marketing of a chemical company. This isn't just about saving a few dollars or growing a bigger tomato. It's about reclaiming your independence and reconnecting with the actual rhythm of the planet. When your neighbors look at that pipe and see an eyesore, they are missing the masterpiece unfolding beneath the surface. They don't see the complex web of life, the microbial communication, or the thousands of soil engineers working overtime to heal the land. But you do. You understand that true wealth isn't found in a plastic bag. It's generated by the life you cultivate right where you stand. As you walk back into your house, carrying your empty scrap bucket, take a second to look at your garden. It's no longer just a patch of dirt. It's a living, breathing partnership. You've stopped fighting nature and finally started listening. And trust me, when you start listening to the soil starts giving back in ways you never thought possible. Go plant something, feed your worms, and I'll see you in the next one.